how to create a live shape design like this in Affinity Photo, PC or Mac, where all of the shapes change and are modified at the same time. You can use any of the shapes. I'm just going to go with the star tool, but the same ellipse tool, triangle tool, all of them can be used in this way. So star tool, and you can fill it with anything. I'm using a gradient in this example. Then go to layer and down to duplicate linked. Reason for duplicate linked is going to be shown later, but duplicate linked is a special kind of linking. Scale and rotation are not linked, but all the settings are linked. So duplicate linked, and you can see then you've got 2 stars now. Well, select this one and just drag it down and just place it. Make certain the whole thing is blue when you drag it over there. So that's all blue, release. Now you can see you've got the parent. This is the parent, the star here, and you've also got the child. And it's also got this special kind of duplicate linked. Go to the child layer and right click and go with duplicate. Then just resize it. Hold down the shift so you make certain it scales nicely, and just going to put it there. Yes. Once you've got that, what you can then do is use a power transform or power duplication. And that's Command J or Control J, depending if you're on PC or Mac. And you can see now what happens. It just duplicates it. It will create multiple layers. They're all children of this top layer. And you can repeat that now. Sometimes obviously the scale might not be right. You might want to add some rotation in as well. That's another option. Now all linked, what you can also do then is go down here, down to the bottom layers, and with this one selected, and any of them can be selected. So just go here, click effects, and then go for 3D. And you can see then they all become 3D at the same time. Now the design may be not exactly what you want. You can always resize them manually, of course, as well. You don't need to use the power transform. You can just duplicate and then resize individually as well. Perfectly reasonable. But any of the settings now used with 3D, you can just change and they all change. Also, you can go here to outer shadow and just add an outer shadow as well. And they will all have an outer shadow. And click close. With the move tool selected and also the star selected, all these settings will be available. You can go up to the fill, just click on that, and then go up here and just add some additional stops, just change the colour. And you can see that colour is applied to all of the gradients. You can also go to window and down here to swatches. And you notice here I've got a load of swatches, gradients there, and I can select a different gradient, and that all applied in the same way. But also what you can do is you can go up here. You've got all these options. You've got here points, so you can change the points and they will all change at the same time. Also, you can go here to the inner radius and change that. And they all change again. Or outer circle. Or maybe inner circle. To create a design such as that. Now, as mentioned, you can, of course, select any of the shapes and then you can just rotate it. Again, it doesn't matter. Rotation and scaling are not linked. And then, of course, once you've done that, you can always, again, go to number of points and change them. You can see as you do that, you've got that design instead. Maybe change it in the radius and so on. Instead of using a power transform or power duplication to create your shapes, you can just do it manually. Just go over here and I'm just going to select the cog tool in this case. So cog tool, any of the shapes can be used. So just create that and you can fill it with any gradient, any of the gradients here, or just modify the gradients using the gradient tool. So with this design, you can of course change the number of teeth, but exactly the same as before. You can always go to layer and you go down here to duplicate linked. Now you've got this duplicate linked here. You can simply select this layer and just drag it down. Makes them the whole thing again is selected. The whole thing needs to be, otherwise it will not work. And then release. Now that's the parent, that's the child. With that you can resize it. So again, go to the move tool and just resize. Now the resize is not linked as mentioned. Likewise rotation. Also shearing, etc. They're all not linked. And you can rotate it. Just rotate that around. Now if you select the top one, you notice all of them rotate. If you select this one, the child, then just that will rotate. And then you can repeat that. So again, right click and duplicate, or use the layer menu and duplicate. And then you can resize that one. Now you can hold down the shift or just do it without the shift. And again, rotate it. And again, do exactly the same. And you can do this 20 or 30 times. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to create a couple of them just to show, for example, how it works. And you can just resize, rotate again, and again, layer and duplicate. And you can see you can build up all kinds. Now, if you make a mistake, you can always reorganize this. You reorder it. Because sometimes I do that, I suddenly think, oh, it's not working. Suddenly one's behind the other and I can't see it. So you can just then move this around and reposition it. And you can see when you select those, they look like they're in the correct order. But as long as you select one of them, any of them, doesn't matter, you can go to here, Effects. So just click Effects and you can go to, say, 3D again. You could use any of the others. I'm just using 3D because it stands out, like bevel and emboss as well. And then, of course, you can change this. But you can also go here to the profile, so click there, and you can change different profiles. That, again, will all have the same profile. And you can tweak it, and as you do that, they all will change. And again, just to make it stand out a bit more, just go with outer shadow. You don't need that, but it just, I think, highlights it a bit better. So click Close. And you can still reposition it, modify it to your heart's content, and also change the gradient. If you're not happy with the gradient, simply set the gradient, and then go from there, and then again, go to the gradient tool, because you might think, oh, linear, I don't like linear. So linear, let's go with radial, especially with something like, obviously, a cog. And then you can move it around and maybe change and tweak things. But also what you can do, exactly the same as before, either go to the cog tool, and then with one selected, and that's the key thing, you can change the number of teeth, so, and they will all change. So you can create something like that. Or maybe go in a radius, change that. And then go to whole radius and change that. Sometimes some of the obviously designs it's not so effective, but also two size. You can change that, as well as curvature and notch size. And let's go for curvature. Now curvature is very, very subtle, even at 100% or max, I think, 100%. So with this design, again, you can then, if you want to, you can always select all of these and you can align them, because at the moment it's obviously slightly higgly-piggly. So I'm just going to align them so they're all nicely aligned like that. As long as you've selected one, you can always go up here and change all the settings again, such as the teeth, as well as inner radius. Once you're happy with the design and you think, oh, you know what, I don't want to change it anymore, I don't want to do anything, what you can do, you can always just rasterize the entire thing. Turn it into a rasterized layer by layer and go down here to rasterize. And all of those, I'm going to deselect that, preserve layer effects, I don't want that. So rasterize, and that's all turned into a single design. Now, of course, all the settings, all frozen, but you've got your design, which you can move around and reposition and create multiple layers, etc. In this example, I'm also going to show you how to do multiple designs. So rectangle tool. So with this, just create a rectangle, very basic vector rectangle. And again, you can fill it with anything. We've just got obviously a very basic gradient there, and you can modify the gradient. But again, what you can do, I'm just going to drag that out. You can see the design has got multiple lines there. Then you go to layer, and again, duplicate linked. Again, you've got that duplicate link there. Simply select this rectangle and then just drag it down. Again, make certain the whole thing is blue all the way across and release. So now you've got that child rectangle inside there. Well, with the move tool, I can now resize that rectangle as well as duplicate it. So I'm just going to, again, right click, duplicate, and I'm just going to resize it now. So just slightly. Also, I can add a rotation as well. Don't have to go with just scale, so just a slight rotation, and then you can use a power transform, Command Control or Command J, and you can see as you do that, they're all applied inside like that, inside that rectangle, that parent rectangle. Well, I can select that now, and now I can go to layer and I can duplicate, or I can just hold down the Alt or Option key, that's on the keyboard, and just drag. So I'm just holding that down and just dragging. And I can position it like that. And then again, I can do that. And of course, I can fill it, maybe create all kinds of different designs. Obviously, I'm creating a quick grid here, but you could create something more complex than that. And you can see then I've got that design and just finish it there. So I've got that. Well, now what I can do is I can change the gradient. So I can just go here, expand this out. Also, if I want, I can also add layer effects. So again, select any of the rectangles. They're all linked as before. Go to effects, so click there and then go to 3D. Now I'm always using 3D as an example, but you don't have to use 3D. Change the radius and you can see they all change. Now sometimes it's not so effective. You might not see much of a result in this case, or maybe go for outer shadow. So just change that, offset and intensity. Just makes it a bit darker. But you can also, of course, use gradient overlay. And you can see then, of course, they all end up with the same, which is not so ideal. So let's just close there. But what you can also do is change the gradient itself. So just go to the gradient tool. Again, make sure you've got one selected. And with that, you can just change gradient. And as you do that, just move that. Now, sometimes the response is not particularly instantaneous. Might not be happy with the result. You can always undo. So go to Window and Swatches. And then you can add maybe a gradient, a different gradient. So maybe go for that and they will all change. And again, you can always go to the gradient tool and try and tweak. Now, it really depends on the position. So if you're working with this, you can see the one I'm working with is down here. So it's best to work with that one. And then just rechange it. But you can find it slightly tricky to just, but you can do it. You can adjust the gradient and you can see as you change it, they all change. I'm undoing again. And of course, you can always go to any of those gradients and tweak them, as well as, of course, reposition the design if you're not happy with the design. But also what you can do, again with the Move tool, and let's select a different grade, different shape. So I'm selecting that one. I can go up here now with the corner. Now, because, of course, if I change the corner, you'll be able to see through the background. So you can make more complex styles, maybe layer and everything in particular ways to avoid that. So again, just change this and they will all change. You can see what happens. You can actually see through now. Now you can always get around that by not just using a basic grid. You can always select this and then just reposition it on top. Don't have to have them all in a perfect grid position. Also, you can resize it. So maybe like do that. Maybe create Alt option again and duplicate that to make a background design and so on. You can build up and create all kinds of different designs. But again, the key thing is with one of them selected, simply change the corner, change that setting. And also you've got other corner options like straight as well as concave and so on. You can see you can create design like that. And again, you can still tweak the gradient as well as all these other settings. If you've got any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Always great to hear from you. Will you be using this effect? Do you find the duplicate linked a useful effect? Always great to hear as well. A like or dislike, always appreciated. Thank you much.